Okay, so now we are going to open up our 3D Stager. This program is called Adobe Substance Stager. Okay, and if you go to your project file, okay, should be this rendering file, you will have this green icon. All right, and simply double click that. Now, I'm not sure if this program has been installed yet on the lab computers. I know it's been installed on the computers in the graduate students studio, and also in the basement of the library where we had our test. Those computers have this program as well. Okay, and there's also that one will work for you. Okay, so simply double click on this. Okay, and you will be greeted with this gray square. Okay, and that is because I've set up a camera for each configuration, and I've locked that. Okay, so let's click on here and let's go to the viewport camera. Okay, and hold down your Alt key and your middle mouse button and rotate your canvas so that it's in a 3D mode. Okay, now I'd like you to roll up the scene and the actions tabs or categories. And before we do that, make sure you have clicked on your material. Okay, this is a model that I created in 3ds Max, and it's simply a plane that has maybe 2 million, it's been broken up into like 2 million separate parts so that we can extrude our 3D map on this. Okay, so with that selected, we can roll that up, and now we're working with our model. Okay, so click on material, and the first thing we're going to add is our height map. Okay, so click on that fella and leave, this should be at 0.5, this at 1, and then our height level, so that the very bottom of our height is at sea level. We need to take that all the way down to 0. Okay, now let's add our map. Okay, so we're going to click this plus button and we're going to select a file. And this, be aware of this because you may change your height file a little bit if you want to, but every time you click on that, you're not gonna see anything, and it's because it wants to choose one of these two file types. Okay, so just click on that and come down here. Now you've got your height map right here. Okay, so select that, click open. Okay, and well, nothing really happened, and that is because we need to come over here to the object, all right, and turn on displacement. Okay, now this may take a little while depending upon the performance or the capability of your computer. Okay, but when it's finished, you should be greeted with something that looks a little bit like this. Okay, so it has been extruded. Okay, and in order for you to see this better, let's come over here to lights, and let's choose something where this will really, we won't really see that transparency. So let's choose this bottom configuration. Okay, and then if you come up, you're gonna see, all right, that's my basic watershed. Okay, now this is what's really important. I want you to go to your to the point where your water exits, okay? And make sure, and I'm just using the mouse and the alt button, and you can just navigate like that, okay? So you want to make sure that where the water exits, it's almost right at the it's almost the same level as the plane is. In fact, I would like this to be even a little bit lower. Okay, so let's go back to material, okay? And now what we're gonna do is, before I take that height scale down a bit, because some of that is a little too high, let's see if this normal map is gonna work this time, okay? So you always want your normal scale, I think, anyway, to be below your height map. So let's just knock that down to about there. And we're gonna click on that and choose select from file. And there's our normal map. Okay, so we're gonna open that. Okay, and see, these were the artifacts. This is what was happening before. I get this, and that's a shame because that does look a lot better, okay, in a way. So I'll turn on combined normal, and I'm gonna have to do some research into why that's not exactly working, because see that softens it a lot. But for now, let's turn that off, okay, because I want to show you the whole picture. Okay, and this actually doesn't look too bad. The only thing I'm concerned about, and we can fix this in Photoshop with a Gaussian blur, is, you know, I've got something that looks like it's from Middle Earth over here, you know, you know, all of these things spiked out, okay? And so this is at this point in the creative process, and if you hit Alt and tap 1, you're going to see this from overhead. You know, at this point in the creative process, you're going to be flopping between several different programs just to get this final product right. Okay, so don't fear. And then always remember, we're going to be rendering this from this perspective. So we may not have to be, this looks like the same height as our plane. Okay, so let's open up our scene. Let me grab this guy again. Okay, and let's put our base material down. Okay, so for base color, if you click on for the base surface, if your specular level, that's the shininess of it. I was wondering why this thing was so shiny. Take that down to like a 0.00, okay? This is a landscape, it doesn't need to be shiny, okay? And then everything else is fine. Base color, click that. We're gonna go to image, select a file, and we will choose our material base, okay? All right, so now you really can't tell about the colors and how all of this is gonna look until we jump back into our camera, okay, because then it's gonna be at the right size. What the heck happened to my camera? Okay, if this happens, that's very weird. Okay, let me first check on this plane. And I'm gonna go to properties, and I'm gonna go to transform. Okay, so the position of this should be at 0. We don't need to move the camera, and this should be at 0.01, just so it's a little bit above the base level there. So if you just position your canvas correctly, I don't know why that happened. I may have accidentally moved it when I was doing all that rotating. Then you should be okay. All right, now we're in camera. Okay, so now here's where it can get really, really cool. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we are gonna turn on ray tracing. Okay, and this is going to simulate what our rendering is gonna look like. Okay, now I have found the best success using these studio lights, okay, and this Soft 5 Daylight Studio I thought was a good one, okay. And at this point we want to open our scene and choose the environment, okay, if it isn't already selected, and now we're going to play with the properties of the environment. So under ground, make sure your ground plane is turned off, and that eliminates any real need for the background. Now under lights, this is where we can work with our lighting system. Okay, so I want to rotate the shadow. Most of the times you want your shadows to be on the south side of your canvas objects. Okay, and I would bump up the intensity. I'm getting a lot of deep shadows in here because of that spikiness factor, and then this is kind of getting a little bit washed out. Okay, so I'm gonna need to take my height map, so I'm gonna go back to Photoshop, okay, and turn all of these guys off. I'm gonna unlock my terrain, and under height map I am going to go up to filter, blur, and a Gaussian blur. Okay, now you want to be real subtle on this, okay? And yeah, let's get something where we can see. Okay, so if you click on this, that's before and that's after, okay? And actually where I was finding the trouble was in here, okay? So since my problem is pretty severe, I'm gonna go up to about a 6. Ooh, that's a lot. Let's take to about a 5.5. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that alone. That's good there. And I'm gonna leave the black backdrop on, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the normal map, and that may do the trick. Okay, so now let's what we're gonna do here, instead of quick export as ping, let's do a save a copy. Okay, and we're gonna change this to a TIFF. Okay, now this is really important. Uncheck layers, okay, because we just want what's on the screen. Okay, so it's a height map TIFF, and all of that's fine, and that's gonna be a pretty big file, but that's good. Okay, so we're gonna uncheck all that, and now with the black drop on, we're gonna do the same thing. Save a copy. And it's gonna be TIFF. We're gonna call this normal. Okay, tab that. And then hit save. Okay. Oh, that didn't have layers on. Okay, so now let's head. Yeah, see, that had layers on it. I'm sorry, guys. So let's do a save a copy. TIFF. That's what I was saying. It's so important to turn that off. And then what we're gonna do here is just call it normal map. put it down there. Okay, great. Okay, so let's minimize that. Now we need to go back to our model. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to viewport camera and hold down Alt. Now, if your computer's really struggling, take off ray tracing at this point, okay? Because ray tracing is very computationally intensive. Okay, so go to Material, and now let's swap out our height. Just select the TIFF. There we go, height map. Okay, yeah, that helped a little, I guess. And I'm gonna take that scale down some. Okay, that's probably more accurate. And let's go to the normal map, and let's choose our new normal TIFF. There you are. I'm not sure I saw much of a difference there. Looks like the lights went out. I don't know if that's because of the black background or what. Okay, I'm gonna turn on the terrace. See, that's just a little bit more of a natural look. Okay, that looks a lot better. I just want to see one other thing under material. What would happen if I don't combine these guys? And I'm trying not to mess too much with the displacement, because it can really, like I said, be computationally intensive. Okay, so let's go to camera. All right, now let's turn on ray tracing. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Okay, now let's see what Studio 3 looks like. It's got a nice clean look to it. Studio 2. Okay. Now, remember, this one is definitely too washed out. So, I'm gonna let you go so you can work with this, kind of play with this, see what works best for you. Okay. Overall, we're looking for, see, this is really, really nice, but the background seems a bit gray, and I wonder if that's because of that dang, I noticed that change. There is no background. That's not our background. I need to go to this model, material. Let me just see what happens if I turn the normal off. Yeah, that's what's causing the gray, and I don't see a whole heck of a lot of difference in the displacement. I think we're going to be okay without the normal, because I want this nice clean white background. I think that's going to look really nice. Okay, and so when you've got this relatively where you like it, there's some things I'm gonna change. I want to I want to paint this out a little more with a very, very light brush, just to accentuate the water. Okay. But overall, this looks pretty nice. I do want to make sure that I'm getting some shadows in here. So I'm going to go to environment lights and let's see where those shadows are going. Okay, so they're going to be right in there, and that should be great. Okay, now when you get it the way you want, hold down Control, tap S, okay, and go to Render. Now, these settings are important, obviously. You want to render on your high preset. Have all of this obviously on. Displacement is what makes our model 3D. Okay, use the camera size that I set up for you. They don't want you to exceed 5,000 pixels. So this is as big as we can get it within your canvas ratio. All right, and it's going to export it based on our file name, and it's going to put it right in the folder, and it's going to use the PNG format, which is uncompressed. So that's everything we want. So that's it for the rendering. Now, again, we'll flip-flop back and forth a few times to just get a few things tweaked in Photoshop. But I would like you to have this ready by Tuesday, okay, before class, and we can use Tuesday as a work day. But you need to show up with most of, or if not all of your work finished and ready to go. All right. So I'm going to hit render, and I will see you on Tuesday.